Welcome. My name is Paige. I'm the education coordinator with the Missouri River Bird Observatory, and I'm excited to introduce you to Shelly Colatskie, who's going to be talking to you about a really awesome citizen science app. So welcome to Be an iNaturalist, and I'm going to turn it right over to Shelly.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for having me here today. I'm really excited about this. And this is a really fun app that I hope you all will learn a little bit about. And so I know it's a short presentation, so I'm going to try to cover as much as I can within that short amount of time. And if there's any questions, just enter them like Paige said. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about here. We're going to do a quick, whoops, that's the wrong slide. So anyway, sorry about that. Missouri Department of Conservation. I'm at Powder Valley Conservation Nature Center. And we'll talk about that in a second. But Missouri Department of Conservation, we protect the fish, forest, and wildlife of Missouri, and we also provide opportunities for all citizens to use and enjoy. And so I give a lot of programs like this to a lot of people statewide, and work with a lot of other people statewide as well. And Powder Valley Conservation Nature Center, if you've never been, we're in St. Louis County, 112 acres of oak hickory forest, and lots of nice exhibits where our lobby's open right now, so you can come and see some cool amphibians, reptiles, and fish. And we have 3 paved trails that you can come and hike. And we also have some iNaturalist projects there, so I'll talk about that. So utilizing iNaturalist. So if you have never used it before, I'm going to go through just a couple of quick things about it and why it's important, some to-dos, some not to-dos, and other things that are important to talk about for this. So what is iNaturalist? It's a really fantastic way for people to connect with nature, especially in this day and age where everybody has phones and smartphones and tablets and all sorts of things. So it's really good for families and well, this one's really good for families and professionals. It's a free downloadable app for Android phones or the iPhones, and I have iPhones, so the presentation I have on here talking about the app will be on our based on iPhone, but there's also instructions to use for Android. And it's also an online networking, social networking platform, so you can talk with. This is worldwide, so this is not just Missouri, this is worldwide. So you can get on there and talk to people, experts from all over the world, no matter where you are. You can really enjoy this app or online. So it's not just an app, it's also a desktop app as well. So what does iNaturalist do? It helps identify organisms. So if you're out, you can go out and like take a picture of a plant that you don't know what it is. You can upload it and it'll help you identify it. It records organism observations. So if you want to have like a BioBlitz, which we'll have an example, if you want to have a BioBlitz or something like that, then it'll have a way for you to store your organisms around. So I have like a project for my house right now. And it, like I said earlier, it links people to hundreds of thousands of other naturalists around the world. These are professionals. Did I lose you or you here? You can hear me? Okay, perfect. Sometimes these headphones cut in and out, so hopefully it works. Okay, so this also has professionals as well as amateurs to interact with each other, and also has professionals to use it. And so for the iNaturalist or the iNaturalist part, you have to be 13 or over to use it. And later on, I'll talk about Seek, which is later on. Today, I'll talk about Seek, which is a more kid-friendly thing. And only because you have to be 13 or over, only because there's a lot of, it's a social networking thing. So it's similar to like Facebook or something. There's a lot of information on there. So you have to, it's more for adults or older teenagers. So where to start? So you have to download the app or use the desktop site. And so iNaturalist.org, or you can go to your smartphone app store. So it's iNaturalist. Create a username and password. So you sign up there, log in, and then so you can use both the same password and login information for the app as well as the desktop site. And make an observation. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So making an observation. So this is going to be your screen here on the side, on the front on your app. It's going to have what you've seen so far, and there's different options. So make an observation. I'll go through the app real quick. Is on your phone, you'll have a camera, and so you want to take that camera. And it'll have either you can take a camera right then and there, or picture right then and there, like live, or you can go back to your camera roll and use pictures from way back in the past. So like what I do at Powder Valley especially is I'll take a bunch of pictures and then go back and upload them as I have time. But if you want to, you can upload it then. Okay, so then you want to take a picture. Now this picture you can see, and I'll talk a little bit about pictures, but this picture here is not very clear. It's a birdhouse, but if you look closer, there's a tree frog in there. And so it's all about picture. So if you don't want to take a picture of just like this, you want to be as close as possible to the organism as possible to get a really good identification on there. So like I said, this one here, you can identify the organism. This one here probably would not. So as close as possible. Or you can go to your camera. So like I said, you have a bunch of downloaded pictures already, and so you can download those pictures. So that picture can only be downloaded. Okay, and then you hit the next button once you have your photo. And then it'll take you to this page here, and you can always add more photos. So it gives you one, but you can add as many photos as you need, maybe up to a few, not as many, but a few pictures. So you can add more pictures. Then what do you see? So you click on the what did you see, and it'll click up tree frogs. Okay, and so it'll give you either the genus or it'll give you your top 10 suggestions. And depending on where you are, those top 10 suggestions will pop up. Now, here in Missouri, we have two types of tree frogs. You know, we have the Cope's gray tree frog and the eastern gray tree frog. So for this, unless you hear the call, it would be best just to put the genus. So if you don't know this exact species, the genus is fantastic. And the good thing about iNaturalist is that even if you don't know what it is, you take a guess, other people on here will help you identify it. So you can click on that. So like here, we had the example, you just use the hyla for the genus. You can make notes if you heard the call or if you didn't. The date and time. So if the photo doesn't have a date and time, you'll have the date and time on there. You can make a date and time on there. You can add your address. Sometimes it's already going to be located on there, but if it doesn't, you can always change it to skew it a little bit. And it'll have that exact point. So like for Powder Valley, each photo is kind of loaded at each section around, which is good because then I know exactly where the pictures are taken. We can change that. Open geoprivacy means, and open means that the data is not skewed and it's open for everybody to use. So you can use any of that data you can use. Anybody can use it if it's open. And captive cultivated. So if it's captive or cultivated, it's not native. So you want to make sure if you put something on there like it's a euonymus or something and it's not a native one, then you want to make sure it puts it like cultivated or something like that. Or if it's something you planted. And then projects, and there's several projects you can join. And if you're at Powder Valley and you do this, it's automatically going to join Powder Valley's projects. So there's different projects you can select to join. So it's really cool because you can join different projects like reptiles and Missouri, amphibians of Missouri. You can join all these different projects. Or if it's at specific nature centers, they have their own projects. Or you have your own house, like my house. I have my own house project here. And then share. So once you hit the share button, then it'll share it and it'll post it. And everybody will be able to see that and make comments. So other naturalists on there can make comment. They can help you identify it. They can help you change if it needs to be changed. And sometimes you might not agree with them either, and that's okay. So there's a lot of different things on there. The one thing about this is that if you put a picture on there, it has to be in order to be research grade. So like research grade, if it wants to be included in certain projects, 3 different people have to identify that that picture and agree on it to be a research grade. Not every project needs research grade. Powder Valley, I don't require pictures for mine, but some people require pictures and research grade in order for it to count. But it depends on what you want. But research grade is 3 people identifying that photo. So quality, photo quality. This brings up my why I don't want to do this at Powder Valley. But some people, like these are pictures I took, and they end up being research grade, which is like, why, you know, because they're horrible pictures. I mean, I knew what they were, but they're horrible pictures. So you have a ruby-throated hummingbird and you have an eastern bluebird. And so even though I knew what they were, people actually uploaded them as research grade because they agreed. So I'd say if you don't have a really clear picture, just don't upload them to iNaturalist. What not to add: don't add taxidermy or animals that are in exhibits. um, for like anyway, I'll get into that later for questions because I want to run short on time. But so just don't add stuff that's a taxidermied or a exhibit animal, because we want native and wild animals and plants. Sensitive species: if there are certain sensitive species on the area, it's probably best not to post them on iNaturalist, just because of the pet trade, the legal pet trade. People are always out looking for or collar lizards and tarantulas and stuff. And so if you have any threatened or endangered species or any kind of sensitive species, it's best not to post on iNaturalist. Or if you do, make sure to just put it in as Missouri instead of a general location. I mean, as an exact location. And so the desktop app or desktop place real quick, it works very similar to the same. You just have to log in and use your same username and password. This is really hard to read, so I'm sorry, but like if you go into iNaturalist, you can search Powder Valley, and you could look, or any kind of things, and you can search and see what kind of posts are around. And this is kind of what it looks like. So you have like different comments and different different comments on there for people commenting on their identifications, and you have messages. So it works just like any other kind of website. So how can iNaturalist be used at my site? It can be used as a tool to identify plants and animals around, which is fantastic because there's so many plants and animals around that we don't know, that it could help us identify them, especially the invertebrates. You can use them as a BioBlitz. So we have so many different BioBlitzes. So like I've had several at Powder Valley and areas nearby, and Runge Nature Center has had BioBlitzes before too. So you can use these as a tool to kind of know what's going on around your property. And it's a really fantastic place to get an idea of kind of the biodiversity of your area. And also about collecting biological data at your site. So the real thing, real quick, I want to get into this, is that it's really interesting because at Runge Conservation Nature Center, Austin Lambert had entered a butterfly on there, and ended up being a pretty rare species, the swamp metal mark, sorry, at the site. And one of our natural history biologists saw that post on there, and it turns out it was a new site for those species, and so you never know what you're going to find on there. And so it's just a really cool thing, and a way for professionals and amateurs to figure out what's going on and kind of what's around the site. So Runge is beating us big time at number of species seen. I think they're up to 1,400 or so species, 1,500. This is outdated, and we're around 600 and something at Powder Valley. But that's just because we just it's just a lot of time to get out there and observe. So the more people out there observing, the better it gets. And to engage the public. So the big thing here is to have people participate using their phones, and helping identify nature, and to submit to biodiversity of urban areas especially. And I think that's it. So that was really quick, but if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, or if you want more information about how to use it, please let me know, and I'll be happy to continue on more.
Yeah, thanks, Shelly. I think you did an awesome job explaining what I consider sometimes a complicated app, but like pretty simple to use, but like there are a lot of details that you can do with it, which is really cool. So yeah, I think that was a great summary.
The one thing, I just want to say, the one thing I forgot to share real quick is that sometimes it's still not 100% accurate, but that's why you have those. That's a really good thing about the iNaturalist part, which, like I said, the Seek part will be a little different. But the one thing about the iNaturalist is that you have those people on there to help you identify the photo. So if you think it's something and it pops up as one thing, but it's actually something else, then more people are going to identify it as the correct thing. So that's a good thing about iNaturalist, is that sometimes it's not accurate, but there's other people on there are going to help you.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And that being said, if there's anyone joining us today who does know some things and you want to go in there and be like, yeah, that's what I think that is, that's helpful
Correct.
too. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's basically the only way I've learned some of my bugs and some of my plants, which aren't
Right.
easy for me to identify.
Yep.
So, we do have one question in the chat, which someone was asking, how do you know if a species is sensitive or not?
That
Like, is
is
there a way people can find that out?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. If you're really interested in that, if you search Missouri Department of Conservation, if you go to our website mdc.mo.gov and you search in the search species of conservation concern, there's a whole big like PDF, and it'll list, I mean, there's a lot on there, but it's plants, it's animals, or plants, invertebrates, vertebrates, it's all sorts of, birds and other things like that. So there's a whole list on there. But also there's, I believe, even if you just search conservation, species of conservation concern, there might be like a field guide type thing. They're changing our website around a lot, so it might be making it a little easier than have to go through that big checklist. So that's the best way for Missouri to search that. But yeah, that's the best thing on that. So if you have any questions, just contact me, and I could pass you that document too.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Well, yeah, thanks, Shelly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing any other questions or comments in the chat. So I guess you covered everything. Super awesome.
Perfect. I hope it wasn't too quick. 15 minutes is so fast.
I know. Well, we want to get the information out there, and then so you have time before her next one about Seek to go download iNaturalist and make your first submission.
There you go. That's right. Absolutely.
Go outside.
Yeah. Yep. Fantastic.
All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. But if you want to put them on Whova, if you think of one later, you can put them on Whova, and like, if Shelly is able to check it, maybe she can answer them that way, or maybe they can email. I'm sure they can find your email somewhere too, Shelly.
Yeah, and I downloaded the Whova app, so I should be able to have it on there. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah. Yep. Awesome. And then also Shelly is doing another talk at 3 about another app called Seek. And I highly recommend, if you thought iNaturalist was cool, Seek is also really cool. So it's one of my favorite apps to use. It's more geared towards kids, but it's super fun if you're an adult too.
It's very fun. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we'll be talking about that one at 3. So if everyone can join us for that, that'll be great. But thank you so much, Shelly, for teaching us about iNaturalist.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you.
This recording will be available for people too if they didn't get to catch the live session.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll see you at 3.
See you at 3.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody.